Hello, my name is Asia Rosado, and for my History of Math project, I'll be presenting about an Indian mathematician known as Srinivasa Ramanujan. I apologize for any mispronunciation throughout this slideshow. I'm going to go and share this real quick. And essentially, what this is going to be is just going to be a small recap of his life and some of the contributions that he made to the field of mathematics. Because there's no way I could do this within 7 minutes. He's very well accomplished, despite not having much formal reference to as training or yeah being exposed to circumstances that would have really allowed for him to develop so much knowledge. But nevertheless, he did do it. We'll go a little bit further into that, in detail into that in a bit. So the beginning, he was born on December 22nd, 1887, in Erode, Tamil Nadu State, India. His father worked as a clerk in a sari shop, while his mother stood at home as a housewife, and they lived in a small town known as Kumbakonam. Unfortunately, at the age of 1, he had a brother that actually passed away, but less than 3 months after birth. And in 1891 and 1894, his mother gave birth to an additional 2 children who passed away before the age of 1. So it's really crazy how, you know, there's just been so much tragedy from such a young age. But nevertheless, he's actually been able to make a lot of contributions to the field. But we'll get a little bit further into that with the next slide. He enrolled in a school known as the Kengayan Primary School. And there's actually a picture of it on the right below. So we're going to talk a little bit about his early experience in school. After his being enrolled within the Kengayan Primary School, he actually went and enrolled in a school in Madras after the passing of his grandfather. It was actually said that he didn't enjoy this experience of having to attend school in Madras, and that he actually often tried to avoid attending. So within 6 months, he found himself back within Kangayan Primary School. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything. But within that school, he actually thrived, and due to his experience, he was eventually entered into another school called Town Higher Secondary School. And this was actually when he had his first encounter with formal mathematics. So there was no special, training. Well, maybe I shouldn't say training, but experience or study within mathematics in his early years. But nevertheless, he was actually considered a child prodigy by the age of 11. So we're going to talk a little bit about like his awakening in quotes, the events that kind of allowed him to go and move forward within the field and start to develop his mathematical reasoning and such. So he was actually lent a book by S.L. Loney. It was in reference to advanced trigonometry, and within 2 years, by the age of 13, he had actually mastered it. He attained another copy of another book called The Synopsis of Elementary Results in Pure and Applied Mathematics at the age of 15. This was from George Carr, and with that book, he went through many theorems and proofs and verified them through his own means. And he actually used this to develop his own theorems. One interesting fact is that actually he was shown the method to solve cubic equations, and he actually developed his own method to solve the quartic. And if we remember our experience in class, that was quite the equation. So he attempted to solve the quintic equation, not knowing that it couldn't be solved with radicals. So it's never said that if he did, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't able to. He developed and investigated Bernoulli numbers. He even calculated the Euler-Mascheroni constant up to 15 decimal places. So from going to very little experience with mathematics to mastering a bunch of books and working with theorems and proofs all within like such a small time period is pretty impressive. So we're going to move forward with his journey and development. In 1904, he graduated from Town Higher Secondary School. He was awarded the A. Raghunatha Rao Prize for mathematics. He had actually received a scholarship to study at Government Arts College in Kumbakonam, but unfortunately, his lack of focus and rigor, well, I wouldn't say rigor, excuse me, his lack of focus in other subjects um, really, it actually caused him to lose his scholarship. He actually ended up failing in examinations for other subjects and such. He was very strictly focused on math. He later enrolled in Pachayapa's College. This was located within Madras. He passed his mathematics but failed in other subjects. Failed his Fellow of Arts exam twice, and this actually caused him to leave college to pursue independent research in mathematics. And he actually lived in extreme poverty, so he was very strictly focused on mathematics, and unfortunately, this actually caused him quite a few complications within his life. In 1910, he gained recognition in Madras mathematical circles after a meeting with the founder of the Indian Mathematical Society, and actually became a researcher at the University of Madras. So it took a lot of grit, it took a lot of hard work, but he managed to find himself pursuing some sort of work pertaining to mathematics. So we're continuing forward. His work was published in the Journal of the Indian Mathematical Society. In 1914, he departed from Madras to London. He spent 5 years collaborating alongside G.H. Hardy and John Littlewood in Cambridge. In 1916, he was finally awarded a Bachelor of Science by his research on highly composite numbers. In 1917, he was elected to the London Mathematical Society. In 1918, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. And one interesting fact is that he was actually one of the youngest in history of the Royal Society. And in 1920, unfortunately, he actually was diagnosed with tuberculosis and later died at the age of 32. So he died very young. But he actually had like numerous health complications throughout his life. So a slight overview. There is no way that I will be able to cover in detail everything he's contributed, but he's actually made contributions in other aspects, such as elliptic functions. He worked with continued fractions, infinite series, the analytical theory of numbers, summing geometric and arithmetic series, and much more. But for my question, what I would ask everybody is, in Srinivasa Ramanujan develops his own methods to solve which type of equation. So we had actually briefly mentioned it within the slideshow. And the answer choices are the quintic, the cubic, the quartic, or the exponential.